lost without a point to defend themselves in the name of freedom. Amen!
You can see the screen. Use detour. Ooh, that sounds sketchy. What's going on, guys? This is Carl with the RacerRed channel. This is my new bike. Picked it up from Bend, Oregon. 2004 Yamaha R1. Not many of these around, especially unmolested like this. It has all the stock parts on it. The only thing that's not stock on this bike are the rear sets. It doesn't have the stock foot pegs on it. It's a different R1. I went from a 2012 to a 2004. But if you guys remember, in one of my last videos, I mentioned that the 2006 R6 was by far the best looking bike I've ever owned. That bike was styled after this bike. So this is the best body style, in my opinion, that Yamaha has ever put out. It's an amazing looking bike. So I went with blue. For one, that was just what I found. This bike has really low miles. It has as many miles as the bike that I sold, which is just under 7,000. I mean, this 04 is like new, man. It's completely stock, unmolested. There's no crappy, you know, aftermarket jobs done on it. So I've tested the transmission, the clutch, the engine. I've brought it up to redline a couple times. The oil's good. Made sure the chain was wet, and I'm good to go. So first impression riding it, which this blows my mind. I noticed that it's way lighter than the 2012. So I looked up the weights on everything. This bike is 379 dry. The 2012 is 454 dry. So that's a huge weight difference. I don't know why they would make them so heavy, but this bike feels more like a 600 compared to my other one. This bike does not make near the horsepower on bottom end as far as torque, but it's a lot more smooth on bottom end. Really have to read the terrain in this area. there's going to be a lot of gravel. Probably the cleanest bike I've ever seen of this year. So, I mean, it's all stock, like I said. There's nothing changed on it besides the rear sets, and it's got frame sliders. All right, all right, all right. But it's a really unique bike. I mean, you'll never see a 2004 R1 as clean as this one. You barely see bikes that are that age that aren't crashed in the first place, but to see one that is all stock, never wrecked, it's got all the original signals, it's even got the rear fender on it, the mud flap on it, which I think I'm gonna keep it just because, like, there's something to be said about a bike that has all the original stuff on it. So the story behind this bike, for the first 5,000 miles of its life, it lived in New York. It still has a New York sticker on it. And apparently the guy that rode it pretty much just cruised around New York with it. Not much of a motorcycle enthusiast. He didn't really go out and really rip on it. He thought that the light that comes on, it's like the maximum RPM that you should go, which I'll show you right here. Yeah, see, that's coming on at 7,000 RPM. This bike redlines at 14. So he was only using half the rev range. And the original owner apparently told the guy that I bought it from that it really rips all the way up to 7,000 RPM. Which kind of made me laugh. I was like, so he only rode it up to half of its RPM range. He's like, yeah, it had like a 5,000 mile break-in period pretty much. I was like, well, that's pretty sweet. So this guy rode it another 2,000 miles. And that's where the punishment comes in. I'm pretty sure this guy rode it pretty hard. But it's a 1,000cc bike, and really, how hard can you run one? So I think that 2,000 miles of brutality did not even touch this bike. The trip to Bend, Oregon was definitely, you know, from my house, like the whole trip to Bend is all desert, and then like 50 miles before you get there it turns into kind of a foresty drive, so it's not too bad after that. That drive is pretty punishing. I mean, there's nothing to see. For the longest time, there's like a 3-hour period of driving where you don't see jack. Luckily, I had my brother there to talk to. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the new bike in the comments below. I'll catch you on the next ride. See ya. I hope you guys will take a chance to subscribe. I know you'll like the channel so much that I named it in such a way that you can type it easily using only your left hand.
Cheesy Poops can really give you that quick pick-me-up.
His name is RacerRed. If he wasn't riding, he'd be in bed. He naps during the day. He rides his love in garage bays. Oh, he rides all night, full throttle all the time. Oh, he was born to ride. Red Racer, like, comment, and subscribe.